October. Welcome to our October network meeting. My name is Esmeralda Martin Singh, and I'd like to introduce you to our Lyft team who's here, Samantha and Leslie, who will be joining. We are excited to be partnering today with Build Up San Mateo to host this webinar on inclusive spaces, designing environments. This meeting will be recorded in English and Spanish and Chinese and shared on our YouTube page and also on Build Up San Mateo County's website. I would also like to thank and introduce our partners, Build Up San Mateo, who helped to coordinate this webinar, Christine Padilla and Dow Jane. I will now hand it over to Dow Jane to introduce our presenter.
My name is Dow Jane Pei. I'm the new Program and Operations Manager for Build Up San Mateo County. I'm here on behalf of my director, Christine Padilla. Christine and I are really happy to be partnering with Build Up California on this webinar tonight. I'm going to introduce our presenter. Our presenter tonight is Elley Ho. She is the coordinator for early learning supports at the Innovations Collaborative within the Santa Clara County Office of Education. She has 28 years of experience working with young children with and without disabilities and is a strong advocate for inclusive education. So Elley, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dow Jane. Could you please confirm if you can see my screen, okay? Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening, everyone. It is really my honor to be here and share my learning with you all. And again, my name is Elley Ho. For the past almost 30 years, I have worked as a teacher assistant, a preschool teacher, an early interventionist serving children and families from birth to 3, preschool special education teacher, inclusion training specialist, and now the coordinator of early learning supports for Innovations Collaborative in Santa Clara County Office of Education. My work allows me to work with both public and private agencies, school districts, as well as childcare providers in supporting all children in inclusive settings. And as a department, we believe that every individual with their unique strengths and experiences has the right to high quality learning and community environments. I just want to quickly share one of our free services that is provided by our department is warm line support. Parents, teachers, community members can reach out to us for information around supporting children with disabilities. Any referral process for special education, including doing ASQ on the phone with parents. And the biggest ask we often get is around supporting children's behavior and topics around autism spectrum disorder. So I will be putting our flyer link in the chat. So feel free to save this, print it out, and have it available in your setting. That way you can reach out to us whenever necessary. I'm going to put this quickly in the chat. I'm hoping I can actually put things in the chat because it says to hosts and panelists only on my side. Anyways, I will move on. Here's our website and information on our emails and contact information so that there's also a QR code to sign up for our email listserv. That way you can get all the monthly updates from us. I believe at the end of this webinar, you'll be able to get the PDF of this slide deck. So all the links that I have already embedded in the slide, you'll be able to get access for all of them. All right, so here's our outcome for our time together tonight. We believe that every child can learn and thrive. So by understanding the elements to design an inclusive classroom environment, we get to promote belonging, engagement, and success for all children. So I just wanted to quickly check and see from our audience, what is inclusion to you? When you hear the word inclusion, please put it in the chat what comes to your mind when you think about inclusion. I just wanted to have a general idea what you think as well. Feel free to put that in the chat. We'd love to see what you write, and you can also write it in Spanish and Chinese as well. Thank you for the responses coming in. Everybody with the same opportunities. Feelings are included. What else do we think when we think about inclusion? What are some big words that you can think of? Included, yeah, it's the action of the noun. Opportunities. I keep hearing opportunities and being included. Being part of a group. Thank you so much. These are great general ideas when we think about inclusion, and feel free to keep them coming as you can think of more words that come to your mind. I'm going to share a kind of official definition, okay? Here, this is a joint statement from the Division for Early Childhood, DEC, and the National Association for the Education of Young Children, NAEYC. They offer us a definition of early childhood inclusion so that we have a blueprint to identify the key components of what we think about high quality inclusion programs. Okay? As for today, we will highlight what an inclusive space looks like to achieve the desired results of our children's learning experience. And I'm just going to give you a quick minute to read what is on the slide. I know there's a lot of information, but particularly look at the blueprints that really highlight the importance of when we think about high quality inclusion. I'm going to read the blue part of this definition. The desired results of inclusive experiences for children with and without disabilities and their families include a sense of belonging and membership, positive social relationships and friendships, and development and learning to reach their full potential. So for tonight, we'll really highlight what that inclusive space looks like to achieve these desired results. Okay. And so that will really help us bring a lens of looking at the outcomes and how we can achieve these outcomes when we think about high quality inclusion. So today, what I'm going to share with you is based on these resources, and these are tools and frameworks that really help us to look closer at what these high quality indicators look like in practice. We have ECTA, Early Childhood Technical Assistance Center, that offers some guidelines for us. We also have CA Teaching Pyramid Framework, which really is a big arching umbrella when we think about supporting social emotional development of young children. An inclusive classroom profile is actually an observation scale to help us look into how children with disabilities are being supported in an inclusive environment. So these are really great tools for us to help us guide how we could look at what high quality inclusion look like. So when we think about an inclusive learning environment, as for tonight, I would like to help us quantify what we mean by environment. We got physical environment, social environment, and temporal environment, and we're going to look at each one of them tonight. So first, let's think about the physical environment. When we think about physical environment, it actually means more than the physical structure or layout of the classroom space. We're also thinking about how we arrange and adapt the learning environment and the materials that is available in the environment to support accessibility, learning, and socialization of all students. And this is from the ECTA Indicator 1 that talks about the physical environment, which I just kind of summarize what this indicator has kind of mentioned as far as what physical environment looks like. Now, when we look at the inclusive classroom profile, it actually narrates in a very similar way. It also assesses the physical space based on how accessible space and materials are and how adults monitor and support children using materials. So this is what it looks like when we think about having visuals as a strategy to support independent access. Okay, so you can see in this preschool classroom, in the bathroom, there's actually toileting steps at each and every stall so that children can look and understand what the steps are. And knowing that routines within a routine is sometimes challenging for our kiddos. So this will really help to break down those steps for them to visualize. Now on the right, you can see a paper dispenser, a paper towel dispenser with the 1, 2, 3. So kids know that they could only press 1, 2, and 3, and that would be it for them to get the paper towel. And now I have a quick question. Can anyone guess what this stop visual is for? What do you think is for at where it's located? Can anyone give a wild guess? You can put it in the chat. Pause before returning to the classroom. That's a good guess. So this is actually when to stop the paper towels. Thank you, Cindy. You score. This is exactly what it means so that when the paper towel gets to the stop line, they know where to stop. It looks like it's working in that classroom because this stop sign is still there and the teacher is very proud of their creation. Now, here are some more great ideas. So on the left, you can see how this childcare provider organized her space so that as kids finish up their snack or lunch, they know how to clean up their plate by putting the leftover in a garbage can and then putting the plate and utensils in the bucket and use a sponge to wipe it down all by themselves. Okay, so look at this way of setting up the environment to really help kids understand what steps are in order to clean up their plate. Over on the right, you see a hand washing guide that was developed with children with disabilities in mind, knowing that there are many steps within this one routine of hand washing. And we need to make the steps very simple and clear to understand. So it's just one word related to the action of the photo. And now on the right-hand side, this is actually a bathroom wall space. This is developed during the pandemic, so each kid knows exactly where to wipe their hands after hand washing. Isn't that creative? Such a great idea so that kids know exactly what to do independently without being prompted. Now, more examples on how to organize classroom space. There are bins that are labeled with pictures and words, which we often see in our preschool settings, so kids can access them independently. They know exactly where to get things and exactly where to put things back. Now, look at how obvious these visual instructions help to show what kids are supposed to do here when they hang out by the fish tank, right? Simple and clear. Look with your eyes and no touching. So I would like to share some data when we think about our student population in our preschool enrollment. So based on the latest data from CDC, which is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in US, 1 out of 31 children has spectrum disorder. And in California, the prevalence is 1 to 19. So as far as students with ASD, over 90% of them have sensory sensitivities, which include hyperresponsiveness, sensory seeking, etc. So being mindful about creating a sensory safe environment is what I'd like to add here because it really allows children's full participation in learning. It gives us the space to think about the lighting and the sound of an environment and how we can help our children focus by designing a space that minimizes visual distraction and also allow co-regulation leading to self-regulation, which again support our students' social emotional learning. Again, this is embedded as a link. So when you get the slide, you can click on it and you can download this handout to create a sensory safe environment. Here are some examples of how adults monitor and support the use of materials. So on the left, you can see that there's a young child. She might need more stabilization during her coloring activity. That's why there's a clipboard that comes in handy for her to stabilize her paper. And on the right side, you can see that there's a modification made for the child on the right. That's where the staff is being intentional of knowing that each child has different learning outcomes, but they can still participate in the same activity. And as you can see, all these are very low tech kind of accommodations. It does not require a lot of money to invest into expensive materials or equipment, and you can do it with just very basic um, uh, materials around in your classroom. Here is a great example of how the teaching staff differentiate the learning outcomes of the students by providing what they need to succeed. So as you look at this photo, you could notice the differences in their tools, materials, and support to participate in the same activity, but with different learning outcomes. But the goal is that they can still fully participate independently. It is totally okay that their work looks different. It is when we don't see template, when we look at art projects, that we know it is the experience that counts, not the outcome of the project. Now, let's think about how we can set up a welcoming and belonging environment to promote positive social relationships with children and families. So these are some pointers when we think about designing a welcoming and belonging space. We want to design a space that allow greeting routine at the door upon the separation with families. We like to see feelings check-in happening at any time during the day or at multiple times throughout the day. We like to see display of family tree and welcome signs. We like to see access to calming corner that is available with tools. We like to see social opportunities to be helpers in the classroom. We also like to see activities and resources to promote understanding of differences. And all these are really key components when we think about designing a space that is welcoming and belonging. So here is one way to do morning greeting, which include the families. Okay, so here's again a handout that actually has 8 options for children to choose how they like to greet the teacher and also say bye to their families. And we're gonna watch in action how this look like at a morning arrival in a classroom.
want to take it off the jacket for your puppy?
Yeah, mommy, one.
Isn't that beautiful that children can pick how they want to greet both the teacher and the parent as they say goodbye to another? And so that really helps them to ease the transition. It's so special and easy. Yes. It's just quick and simple but meaningful. Now, here's a feeling check-in that is part of a routine in this program. And as we look, we can see that children can not just share their feelings with the staff, but also share exactly what make them feel certain way.
How are you feeling today?
Good.
Good? And happy? Why are you happy, Antratia? Oh, so sweet. You made my day today. Antratia is saying she's feeling happy today to come here.
Wow.
Because she's here, that's why she's happy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here, you want to put it on the board? Happy. Here's here. Excited is here.
So as you can see, this routine really helps the caregiver to build connections with each and every child as they do the feelings check-in. They already have a little story that they can share with each other and also empower the class as a community. Isn't that beautiful? Quick and easy again. So here, as we know, the importance of building homeschool connection in early childhood education. So family tree and welcome signs are really beautiful, and especially when they display in the family's home language, it really adds a touch to the classroom environment by helping families feel being part of the program. This is an example of how a morning's feeling check helps to acknowledge a child who was dysregulated from separation anxiety. As you can see by the door where the child is separated from the caregiver, she gets to actually show the staff what she's feeling at the moment. And then as the teacher walks her into the classroom, she co-regulated with her using visuals to help her make a choice to calm her body. And together, they went to the calming corner where the child has access to her family photo, as you can see here, as well as support from staff to find what calming tools work for her. And eventually, she was able to self-regulate on her own until she's ready to join the rest of her class again. So again, the power of access to calming corner and materials being part of the routine and activity of the day. Here's a link. If you can click on it, there's a link embedded here that gives you a list of possibilities when we think about creating calming box in your environment. One of the advantages of using a calming box is that it's mobile. So even when a child is distressed and doesn't necessarily want to move away from where the child is at, the child can still have access to calming materials by you bringing the box over to help the child to co-regulate. Now, here are more links to more resources that can support children's social and emotional needs when big emotions occur. All these resources can also be found when you reach us to our warm line support. They will also be able to share resources with you by emailing them to you. We love to see helpers chart in the classroom because it allows children to take leadership roles. So look at this helper list. There are so many possibilities when we think about having helpers in the classroom. Having helpers really help them to build responsibility and self-esteem and support their engagement. So I just wanted to highlight some of these that might not be the traditional possibilities. It really goes beyond what we usually think of as helpers. Backline leader, if everyone wants to be the line leader, let's name the backline leader as something special. to empower them. And a lot of times when we think about backline leader, we also think about children that might need some sensory activities to help ground their body. If they're helpers to actually pull a little wagon with cups or other outdoor equipment. They could also be the backline leader and pushing a cart with material so that they can work on grounding their body for the transition to happen. So having books on diversity really allows us to have conversations with our kiddos about how we are different, and it's totally okay, right? It helps our children to understand that some friends might need more help than others. And that's why we don't always have the same thing. I know as educators, we are always concerned about how can we make sure that every kid have the same thing, when in fact, if we actually share the notion that because we're different and some of us need more help and support than the others, we don't always need the same thing, and it's okay. And that's how we help to build that empathy and understanding alongside with building friendship with one another. Resources on differences. The more children are exposed to the concept of differences, the more they're able to stay away from thinking, that's not fair, that so and so has this. And we can help them again build that understanding and empathy of each other. So again, the ECTA, Early Childhood Technical Assistance Center, narrates in more detail what the social environment could look like. And a lot of these ideas come from the California Teaching Pyramid Framework. And that framework itself is a 5-day training to learn how to promote social emotional development of young children. So we don't have time to go over all of it, but it is for you for reference as far as what elements we are thinking to build a supportive and responsive environment to support positive relationships with our children. Another indicator from the ECTA on meaningful interactions with peers is really looking into the how in promoting positive social interactions between children. Again, using the teaching pyramid framework to design the social environment to teach specific social skills. So, these are examples of intentional planning that happen in the classroom where students are being paired as buddies. So looking at the one on the left, the teacher actually intentionally pair children together that not necessarily play along on their own. She's creating more friendships between students that might not necessarily play together. And that way they have a chance to actually exposed to other peers. And the buddy system here also allows them to line up together to go outside hand in hand. How easy is that, right? As a way to soothe the transition from inside to outside. And then the buddy bins here is where they learn to explore together during free choice, that they can actually have a special bin that they could engage with each other to make that buddy system more fun and engaging during free choice time. Now, let's look at a powerful example of how the buddy system empowers both the peer and the child who needs support. So we can see how buddy system really help to build that peer interaction.
Look, stick quietly.
You're gonna read a book and then sit down?
No. Read a book, stick quietly.
No.
So stick quiet.
Yeah, the book.
Then we go up here to grab the book.
So apparently, the peer with the glasses are well trained by the teacher by observing what she has been doing with using this little portable visual schedule to help the other child to understand transitions, right? But by observing the teacher, she's now able to be the assistant teacher, and now this has become a natural routine for her, and it teaches both of them what the expectations are within that book reading routine. You go get a book, you sit down, and you read. Right. And so both children actually benefit from this visual routine and the visual support there. And so and plus that they get to build relationship with each other and being the best buddies in the classroom. How beautiful is that? So when we think about promoting positive social interaction, we need to think about how to teach friendship skills, because when we expect our kids to share, how often do we say we need to share, right? When we think about sharing and we think about friendship skills, and thinking about preventing behaviors from occurring when children's having conflict, there are actually many sub-skills involved. And here are just a few examples, okay? We need to get our kids' attention, our friends' attention by tapping on their shoulder, saying their name, or we can ask our friends, how do you want to get attention from your friends? Some of our children might not like to be tapped on the shoulder, and we can ask every child what they prefer. And that itself is an activity to learn from each other. When we think about sharing, what do we say and what do we say back in return, right? When we wanted to ask for a turn by making sharing requests, what are the things that we have to say? And when we wanted to play together with a friend, how can we appropriately ask and give a play idea? A lot of these we expect children to know when they go to our preschool programs, when in fact, some of our children do need specific teaching for their learning to happen. And a lot of times we wanted to think about how we can use role play during small group to actually enhance those experience. So feel free to use this. This is super helpful that I've seen in classrooms where teachers intentionally teach each and every sub-skill so that children know what to do when they approach another friend for various reasons. Now, last but not least, we are going to think about temporal environment. When we think about temporal environment, we're thinking about timing, sequence, and the length of routines and activities that take place throughout the day. How having predictable schedules and routines can help create a sense of security, and hence we can prevent behaviors that are challenging from occurring. And here is some examples. On the left, you see that there's a visual schedule with both words and pictures being posted at children's level, children's eye level. And with that, it really helped them to understand and look at the schedule throughout the day. And in this situation, it actually allowed a child to participate by being a schedule helper. That she is being asked to actually change the schedule by moving the arrow down. That way, again, it helps to minimize frustration when we think about how long the day is, when I'm going to see my mom again. And with the schedule, we can actually tell our children when things occur. On the right, you also see how the teacher helps to guide a child to think about a transition that involves multiple steps, involves washing hands and lining up before the transition occur. And again, using visual schedule really helps to create a sense of security, especially when a child is part of the routine, like being a schedule helper. Now, I'm not sure if everyone has heard of this. This is something that I want everyone to know about. It's called Time Timer. It's one of those timer. The wonderful part of this is that it's free. It's a free app. If you have an iPhone, you can download it for free. And it allows children to see the duration of time left in red. Okay, the red zone is where the waiting time is, right? So it really helps to quantify what do we mean when it's 5 minutes? What do we mean when it's 10 minutes, right? So that it really helps to make the transition more predictable. Now, I'm going to share a video of this wonderful opportunity. Remember, we talk about helpers list. One of the helpers here in this classroom is a 5-minute reminder. So this child gets to be the helper to remind all his friends that is 5 more minutes left. And guess what? A lot of times when we can think of creating leadership role, we can actually assign children who have a hard time transitioning, who doesn't like to hear that, who doesn't like to hear people tell them that there's 5 more minutes. They don't have that control. But when they are the helper and when they have the voice to tell their friends that there's only 5 more minutes, it actually helps them to remind themselves without being told. And at the same time, it's the best way to learn because we get to teach each other. So let's see how he does it.
To play. Say 5 more minutes to play.
Thank you.
Thank you, boy. Thank you.
So as you can see in this classroom, every child has a job every day. They have it throughout the week as the same helper, but there are 18 pockets here on this schedule, on this helper list board. And so this child knows that he's assigned to be the 5-minute helper. So this is where he takes out the 5-minute reminder prop, goes around with teacher support, and then this is where he puts it back. How beautiful this structure is, right? It's just part of the routine that everyone has a space to help in the classroom. All right, these visuals are lifesavers. Guess what? A lot of times when we know that it's time to clean up, when children are busy building blocks and now they have to undo what they did, and it could create frustration. So in these photos, we can see that these are visuals taken in classrooms where children are struggling to let go of their favorite item when it's time to clean up. So Parker's all done box, safe, here. All these visuals help to make them feel that they are more at ease. They can get back to their activities and materials when the time comes, and it allows them to have that sense of security so that they're not going away. They're still going to be there for them. We just have to wait. Again, it's all this designed to help children think about transitions and routines and how they could actually move through the day with the least frustration. Now, this is one last thing that I love to emphasize is that we often believe that circle time is where we teach new skills. In teaching pyramid framework, we learned that small group teaching is actually the most effective way for children to learn social emotional skills. And then you think about all the things that we shared earlier about friendship skills, all the sub skills. It's much harder to teach during large group. And when we think about how we can use circle time as a time to review the learning outcomes, but actually doing the small group teaching so that we can do more role play. We can have kids participate more fully instead of being just silent, passive participants during circle time, watching what's going on. Small group allows a lot more dynamic learning to take place. And so we do want to make sure that in designing our temporal environment, we are able to allow small group teaching to be on the schedule in the mix between child-led activities. We want to have a balance between teacher-directed and child-directed activities and really think about small group teaching as a way to teach, let's say right before free choice. That way students have that learning space before they go on to explore on their own. And these are some of the key components when we think about social emotional learning, from emotional literacy, which is understanding and expressing feelings using words, friendship skills. We talk about those sub skills when we think about sharing, cooperating, socializing. We think about emotion regulation, how they can learn all the tools to regulate anything in the calming box that you could actually teach them when there's no emotions involved, what they are for, and practice breathing together is one way to teach emotion regulation. And then when we think about conflict resolution and problem solving, having those role play opportunities where we're creating scarcity, we're creating conflicts that you often see in the classroom and role play it out and ask children to think about solutions and offer them solutions when there's no emotions occurring, right? And so small group teaching using role play scenarios is the optimal way to create that space for social emotional learning. Now, this might be new for some of you. Embedded instruction is an approach when we think about allowing children with individualized family service plan, which is IFSP, or individualized education plan, IEP, to learn during ongoing activities and routines. What we wanted to take away are opportunities where children have to be one-on-one, sitting at a corner, working on some of the learning outcomes based on their service plan. We would like to see their learning outcomes and learning opportunities being embedded into their everyday activities within the inclusive space, right? And so again, this is another 2-day training itself. If you'd like to learn more about this approach, we do offer training and coaching for staff to implement embedded instruction to support children with IEP or IFSP in the classroom. But for now, we know that it is part of the temporal environment designed for instruction to take place during ongoing routines, activities, and transitions. And now here is a list of resources. It's just a quick overview of all the framework and tools that was mentioned throughout this evening. Feel free to check out this resource link to learn more about each and every framework and tool. And again, this is for the ICP, ECTA. MAP is a really great website that links information around teaching pyramid and also what resources are available in each county, including your county and my county. And of course, the Embedded Instruction California project that really helps us to build a strong base for instruction to take place in an inclusive environment. And with that, I just wanted to share my contact information again. If you want more information on trainings or all these frameworks and tools, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk with you. And again, I sincerely thank you for your time and interest in creating an inclusive space for our young children. And before you go, I would like to see if there's any questions that I could answer. And I will also greatly appreciate if you can scan this QR code and share your feedback with me. You can also leave questions in the chat or in the feedback form. And as well as right now, we do have a little time that we have that we can answer any questions. In terms of the feedback, when you click on the QR code and you can enter Inclusion 101 as a topic, because it's a long title for tonight. So Inclusion 101 would be an easier one that you can pick on the feedback form. All right, so just wanted to check and see if anyone has any questions regarding the resources and information we have shared tonight.
Hi, Ellie. This is Samantha. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I had a question if you have any best practices for either design or curriculum elements for that are specific to outdoor play. I understand like especially nature play has a lot of really good sensory opportunities for all children. So I'm wondering if you have any tips or ideas that are specific to outdoor slash nature play.
Yeah, and I think when we think about outdoor space, we also wanted to think about outdoor not just being, I mean, when we think about intentional planning, how can we actually leverage our space from outside to inside? And a lot of times when we think about um, supporting children, all children, where are those hot spots in the classroom that could be moved to outside so that the learning occurs across settings. So say, for example, dramatic play. A lot of times we might run into not having adequate space for more children to participate in dramatic play. And I've seen a lot of inclusive programs where they actually move their or have an additional dramatic play area outside where it allows more freedom and room for more children to join. That way, again, we're minimizing conflicts and supporting positive behaviors outside as well. We also encourage having a lot of visual supports to know what those expectations are for outside. For example, riding on bicycles. We definitely want to see signs of space that are marked so that children know where the bikes go. We also, if you have slides that you don't want to have kids climb up the slide, which we often talk to children about. You can have arrows that are using the blue tape to tape arrows so that children know where they're supposed to go instead of going up, that we're going down. Things like that. Think about any visual supports we can add to help children understand and access outside space is going to be one of the biggest pointers we like to offer. Is there any other questions I can answer?
Okay, thank you everyone so much. As Ellie said, these materials will be sent in a follow-up email to all those that registered for this meeting. Her slide deck is rich with links to resources, so please check them out. I know a lot of them are translated, so it's not just in English, but other languages as well. These recordings will be posted on YouTube, Build Up California's YouTube channel, and also on Build Up San Mateo County's website. Thank you all for joining, and I'm going to end the meeting now. Thanks again.